Jefferson County 911.
Yes, I am a teacher at Columbine High School. There is a student here with a gun. He has shot out a window. I believe one student shot. I've been
Columbine High School.
I don't know what's in my shoulder. If it was just the last beat through it.
Okay, has anybody been injured, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the school is in a panic, and I'm in the library. I've got students down under the table, kids. Heads under the table.
There is such an opportunity for a kid to just fly under the radar and not get noticed by anybody and be having really severe problems that just nobody knows about. And then one day everybody gets blindsided.
Just think about, because of gun problems, we have to have metal detectors in schools. It's just should sound insane to people.
This was an event that changed the school system.
Good afternoon. This is News 2, and we are following a breaking story today, a shooting at a high school in Littleton, Colorado, that's near Denver. Here is what we know so far. Witnesses say 2 gunmen dressed in black trench coats with black masks opened fire at Columbine High School about lunchtime in Colorado. They said the gunmen went from one area of the school to another, shooting students as they went. A student who witnessed the shooting said the gunmen were carrying guns, a small Uzi, and some pipe bombs. Witnesses say the gunmen are students.
On April 20th, 1999, 2 students at Columbine High School, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, used semi-automatic weapons and pipe bombs to kill 12 students and 1 teacher, while injuring over 21 others before committing suicide. This event was the worst school shooting at the time. Several years later, investigators from the FBI revealed the motive of Harris and Klebold. The FBI concluded that both perpetrators were influenced by the Oklahoma City bombings of April 1995. Their original intent was for Columbine to be a bombing massacre, where they would gun down fleeing survivors. Their overall goal was to kill as many students and faculty members as possible, specifically targeting Christians, athletes, and people of color. The perpetrators of the massacre expressed their unusual and aggressive behavior in essays, journals, and on websites. Their writings, which included phrases like, "the human race isn't worth fighting for, only worth killing," were examined by professional psychologists and determined that Harris spearheaded the plan, with Klebold following his lead. The shooting raised several questions regarding school safety.
I mean, I do remember it being a big news story. I do remember that it was seen to be very unusual at that time, because while school shootings had occurred before that, this was the first time when it happened kind of in the age where people were videotaping like them perpetrating these types of things.
To me, it's just common sense that we've got too many guns, too easy of access, and the guns are too powerful and dangerous. We've just gone past we've gone past the idea that the Second Amendment, says that people have the right to bear arms, because the people that wrote that had no idea we would have the kinds of weapons that we have now and the social problems that we have now.
There's been school shootings before Columbine, but nothing to that national standard, or that had such media coverage.
After Columbine, there was a concerted effort to address bullying and safety measures when entering schools.
And so the real change in security that I saw, and this isn't just with us, it's with every school I've worked in now for the last 15 years, is that single point of entry idea, to kind of control who's coming in and out of the building. After Columbine, there was kind of this concerted effort to really take a look at bullying and to really address kind of the root causes of bullying, and really to understand, or at least to kind of make the argument that these young men had done this because they were bullied. Okay. And I think that was kind of the immediate change.
If the government's job, which in the preamble talks about promoting the general welfare, which is protecting the citizens, if you have 60% of your national budget goes to the military, why could you not have whether it's reserve officers or why not military personnel that's at every individual school. That's protecting the American public and the American citizens. I think that would be an easy enough way to protect citizens.
I don't necessarily know that it is quite as significant a problem for us as it would be for a larger public school. Okay, we're so small, and everybody knows everybody. So if a person was getting to that point where they would do something that crazy, um, I'd like to think that we would notice way before it would get to that point. But I think that a lot of these times, especially when it's a school shooting like Columbine, where it's perpetrated by the students at the school, that there are warning signs that get ignored in especially larger public schools, because if you have a student population of 1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000, there are plenty of kids in that building that really nobody knows them.
Columbine raised concerns about gun control and the process of purchasing a gun in the United States. These concerns resulted in questions from the public and a legal call to action.
People say, oh, you could stab people. Well, you're not going to do the kind of damage they did in Columbine with that. You know, I mean, those kinds of guns that they were using were designed for military use. And it's the way they used them.
We as citizens need to be able to protect against a government. Now, could they envision back in the 1700s the advancements in technology today? Probably not. But I still think for us as citizens that we should be able to protect ourselves.
There are plenty of things there are plenty of restrictions that we have on our freedoms in this country. What if I said I like to drive 100 miles an hour down the highway? Well, I can't do that. Most, people don't want to sit in a crowded theater with somebody smoking a big old cigar. I mean, there's plenty of restrictions on us. And I don't think we're going to descend into tyranny because people cannot carry around the kinds of guns that Marines need when they go into combat.
Following Columbine, mental health was and continues to be a topic of discussion, raising concerns over access to mental health care and its importance.
Something must be happening that is causing all of this kind of mental health anguish. I don't think it's a major problem in itself. I think it is a symptom of a different major problem.
And so all of that I think built up to this release of, the only way that I can deal with the people that are bullying me because I'm not bigger than them is, access a weapon. In this case, they chose guns and homemade bombs.
Kids, I don't think that they thought that they had a reasonable future. Okay. And so if you have a situation where you especially have young men who are hopeless, who lack meaning in their lives, who have nothing that's kind of keeping them going, nothing that they're kind of striving for, and especially not a whole lot of people in their life who really care about them one way or the other, that lack of meaning or that kind of nihilism that a person can get kind of consumed in if they feel like no one cares about them, is motivation for the massacre. Okay, because the way it seems to me is that those young men had gotten to the point where not only did they really not care anymore whether they lived or died, because that's pretty obvious, I would say, but I think that they had gotten to a point where they believed that that their lives were so bad for them that the only way that the only thing that they really kind of wanted to do in that situation was become known for basically doing something like this.
In America, we don't have, in this country with all this wealth and all these resources, we do not have good health mental health structures. And there's so many troubled people, angry people. There's so many elements in our media that stokes this anger.
Is kind of following their progress and, seeing whether or not they got any friends or whether or not they are engaging in behaviors that are kind of, warning behaviors. You get this anonymous population within your school that is actively trying to not be noticed by anybody. And then if you don't know anything about those kids, they could be planning something terrible like this situation, and you'd never know until it's too late.
Educators, administrators, and government officials continue to work to create strategies to prevent school shootings in the future.
Basically, they say there's not anything we can do about it. If there are things we can do about it, we can make it more difficult for people to have those kinds of guns.
If there was going to be one thing that I think would maybe help, is just don't have these enormous schools with thousands of students in them, because it's too big to manage.
I think there should be background checks on people. There should be a time period between when you want, so you can't get, you can't get all angry about something and immediately go to Walmart, buy a gun, and then go do something about it. Some kind of cooling off period. There needs to be some kind of check on people about their criminal backgrounds, mental health, because these are dangerous. These are very dangerous devices. And then I think a great limiting of certain weapons.
The Columbine High School shooting serves as a sobering reminder of the need for continued dialogue and action to address gun violence and mental health in schools. Columbine leaves a mark on its victims and communities. It compels us to confront the root causes of such violence and to work together towards an end to school shootings.
We have it within our power if people worked together to make things a lot better. Unfortunately, I don't see that happening.
I think that the emotionality that comes out when one of these things happens really gets in the way of us having a conversation about what could not fix it 100%, but make things better. Because whenever this happens, it inevitably evolves into being about the gun. And I don't really think that gets us anywhere, because the person uses the gun to commit the crime.
I don't think there's one problem, climate change to gun control, that couldn't be, if not cured, made much better. But people play politics with these things. And to me, that's very shameful, when we could be helping people and really, truly making society better and safer.
We do know that we must do more to reach out to our children and teach them to express their anger and to resolve their conflicts with words, not weapons. To the families who have lost their loved ones, to the parents who have lost their beloved children, to the wounded children and their families, to the people of the community of Littleton, I can only say tonight that the prayers of the American people are with you.